Hey everybody, it's Andre Shirdan, and my guest today is Michelle Strange. And Michelle is a dental hygienist, and she's one of those awesome people who not only comes to the table with 20 years of dental experience, but also holds a master's in dental hygiene, which is fantastic. And I had the pleasure of meeting her when she interviewed me for her podcast, A Tale of Two Hygienists, which is one of my favorites. And she co-hosts with Andrew Johnston, who is also a hygienist. And we have both a passion for perio and just for dentistry in general. So, Michelle, thanks for joining me for this. This is fun.
Oh, this is great. Thanks for inviting me.
And I gave you the questions that we're going to talk about today ahead of time because I kind of wanted everybody to get a chance to think about it. I didn't want to get anybody sort of deer in the headlights moment. But really what this is all about is this is going to be a series of interviews that I'm going to do with folks who I consider my friends in dentistry. And it's funny because we're virtual friends, but I think we've only seen each
Yeah.
other in person once.
Yeah. Wasn't it a midwinter meeting?
Now, it couldn't be, I've never been in
Was it Greater
32
New
years,
York then?
Greater New York Dental Meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
my home meeting. I go there. Well, other than the last couple of years, I had gone for the last 30 years. So that is my home meeting.
It's a good meeting.
It is. It's too long. It's too long. It's 4 days.
100% agree.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's because nobody else would use the Javits Center right after Thanksgiving. Nobody else wants
Exactly.
to be in the city. That's what they probably got it for a dime.
Exactly. Ah, so
So
true.
I'm going to hit you with these questions, and we're just going to be casual about how we kind of go through this process because that's what I want this to be. This is all about the fork in the road that we take. And my first question for you is, if you could think of one, and I typically there's more than one deflection point where you go, I want to change what I'm doing. I want to take a different path. And I know you've taken a few. We've talked about this. You've taken a few paths. So, can you think of one place where you saw yourself take a fork in the road?
Yeah, many, like you said, many, and some small and some very, very big and life-changing. I was really struggling with like choosing one thing. I think honestly, me leaving private practice was a huge one because it did catapult me into writing and speaking and being more in the corporate side of dentistry. It was the impetus to creating the podcast, and so that was a huge one. But that was also 10 years ago, or well, not 10 years, maybe 7 years ago now. Last year in 2021, I did a big one where I decided to sell everything I own and become a nomad. So now I am getting my license in different states, which is horrible. I gotta say, it is not fun. And I am trying to see what it's like to live all over the country and be a hygienist and talk about the oral health disparities that we see everywhere. So
That's
I've had
awesome.
really two big ones, but they've been kind of spaced out.
So let's talk about that because one of the things that you do a lot of traveling, I do a lot of traveling, and no matter where I go, it's typically the same thing when we talk about dentistry. Everybody left their paycheck, I mean, left their checkbook at home. Every patient has the same thing. Everybody has to call you back later because they don't have their calendar, when they're holding their iPhone in their hand. It's all really always the same thing. I mean, what do you see that's the same and different of all the places that you go?
So I haven't been, this was my second stop. I'm currently in New Orleans, Louisiana. And I think I could probably speak more from what I can do as a dental hygienist
Yeah.
where I go. And what is required of me to become a dental hygienist. I've been a licensed hygienist in South Carolina for 15 plus years. I was able to give anesthesia, and then I come and work under general supervision. And then I'm here in Louisiana and I cannot work. So actually one of the dentists got COVID and
Mm.
quarantined, means office shut down.
Wow.
Can't do anything, can't serve those people It's very limiting. To even get my license was like, I had to mail in things. And I was like, you want me to find a check to write?
Oh,
I can't even understand this. So it's going from that. And then I'm going to be going to Colorado in 2 weeks where I can own my own practice in Colorado. I
sure.
can truly go out and serve a community in a way and really get after prevention because I don't have to work under a dentist. So from that perspective, I think, yeah, maybe the day in, day out of patient care, like everyone's going to be like, you never told me that, or I didn't know I had to pay for that. Like that, I think will always be kind of like the standard with working with people in the world. But what I can do for them is drastically different from
Yeah.
state to state.
That's amazing. And I sometimes I tell people if I'm doing a seminar and I'm talking about it, and I say, in certain states, a doctor can only have one hygienist. In certain states, they can only have two hygienists. In certain states, they can have as many as they want. And people are like, "Are you kidding me?"
We
But I
kid you
live,
not.
I live in an area where I'm at the corner of three states, and depending on which 20 minutes either direction will depend on if I can buy tequila during the day. So there's it's amazing to see you've got a book in the making there. You really do.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting adventure. And I really wanted to look at the oral health disparities. Also, I've just become certified in dental infection control and prevention through OSAP and Danby, which is another pivot in my space. I was like the perio person, and now I'm moving more into the infection control space. And even like looking at some of the things that I can do within each of these states in that space, and also how I'm going to be able to practice as a dental hygienist. It's really frustrating. It's really frustrating. And it doesn't make any sense to me because so in South Carolina, I had Georgia and North Carolina. Neither of them will allow me to give anesthesia.
Yeah.
As if the teeth and the landmarks and the people change so drastically that I am not capable of comprehending how to make adjustments and give anesthesia. It's gonna be interesting, but I think if we don't get ourselves together, our act together, each state, that we don't also elevate our dental hygiene education to a place of the highest standards, I think we will always have an issue with having reciprocity with our hygiene licenses, and it really is going to affect people and their oral health.
I'll hold the sign up for you at the rally.
Thank you.
I'm 100% behind you. So give me, so you just told me about two forks that you hit. And I mean, really, it's really one fork that took two different paths along the way,
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one of the things I'm finding in this series is that each of these paths, and in my seminars, what I typically show people is the different phases of my life. And each phase, I've hit another fork in the road. And, I think the funny thing is the way I can almost tell the different stages is the amount of gray in my hair. I've gone through all these different stages. And, everybody can sort of look back at 9/11, or if you're in my age group, when JFK was assassinated. But, those kind of things that happen along our lives. And I'm sure 2020 is going to be one of those things where we look back at COVID and see how that became another fork that a lot of practices took, even though infection control, your baby, and those things are part of what we do on a daily basis, but how they will affect us going forward, just like what happened during the AIDS crisis. It's going to be really interesting in 5 years to see how this has changed dentistry.
It's truly, I think we will see some things almost be mirrored from the AIDS epidemic and how that changed how we look at bloodborne pathogens. And I think that this is how we're going to reassess how we look at respiratory pathogens and the aerosols that we create and the air quality in our offices, and how we protect ourselves and how we protect our patients to create those safe dental visits. I mean, it was a long time coming though. Like
Yeah.
right before actually I have an article that was published in 2019 talking about the aerosols and the things that we have to be concerned about in dentistry. It was published, I think, with Endeavor and RDH Mag or something. Maybe today's RDH, I can't even remember now, but I've been talking about that for a minute, and I am definitely not happy that the pandemic has happened,
Right.
but I do see that the silver lining is an important conversation and a pivot in how we practice and treat patients and keep them and ourselves safe.
Yeah. And it'll be the same learning curve that we went through. Because again, go back to the AIDS crisis. And I remember doctors are going, I never practiced with gloves. I don't want to do this.
Oh,
And yeah, I know. And now
shimmy
we're
in my
seeing this
spine.
shift. I know. I remember clients that I worked with when I began in the consulting field, who smoked chairside. I mean, literally.
Oh
Yeah.
my.
Yeah, I've been in dentistry that long. So yeah,
that's
been
a
a different
special
change.
one.
But it's interesting to see, like I said, practice to practice. And I've been in thousands of practices in my career to see the differences and to see how things, even with 2020, how we have adopted new things in dentistry. Again, forks in the road.
Forks in the road. Yes.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to shift here and I'm going to take you into a couple of different things. Here's our fork in the road in this. All right. So what is a book that everyone should be reading?
Oh, go ahead, finish that.
Well, I was going to say, should be reading, should have read, it's like, how come you haven't read this yet? Or should read again? It's something that maybe that if there's 5-10 years between it, maybe it's time to pick it up again.
So I have two books. Again, this was another struggle for me, because I do talk about these pretty routinely with people, but they are on the newer side. So it's interesting how passionate I am about these two books and the short amount of time that they've been out. I think if I had to put them in order and choose my favorite child, if you will, I would go with What Happened to You. I actually literally have it right here. What Happened to You by Dr. Bruce Perry. And it's an Oprah Winfrey book.
Okay.
And it's coming from where I saw it was also very validating for me to read as a person in therapy and doing the shadow work and breaking, generational traumas. But also it's, I think, critical to read as a clinician and having a trauma-informed way of approaching your patients.
Awesome.
Because sometimes we do not understand why they behave the way they behave. And a lot of it is trauma induced. And it's just little things like, why are they freaking out when they lay back in the chair? Like, and you're just like, oh my God, this is such a pain in my, what, like, this is that patient where we write PETA on the chart. And now I look back at those patients and I'm like, what happened to you? Like, what happened to you to trigger that? And how can I, as a clinician, as a caregiver, as a human who wants to take care of people, how can I serve you better, understanding what happened to you? So I think that is the book to read. I mean, I literally have like things marked in it and written.
That's a good sign.
Yeah, it's been used quite a bit.
That's awesome.
Yeah. My second one, though, is called Burnout, Completing the Stress Cycle. And as a woman in a patriarchal society, I think it is a great book to read because it really kind of helps us remind us that we are not human givers, that we are also human beings, even though we were taught to be the giver, the doer, the caretaker, and not always take care of ourselves, which can manifest in a lot of emotional trauma, mental health issues, and physical issues if we hold in that stress and we don't find a way to complete that stress cycle. So I think it's great.
That's awesome. Now, who's the author of that one? Do you know off the top of your head?
The author, I do not know, but I can look that up
find
really
it because
fast.
I want to make sure everybody there's a link at the bottom, and we're going to have like an Oprah reading list so everybody can have all these books too. So
that's so good.
I'll look that one up. That sounds really good. I love those two choices. That and my goal in everything I've ever done in dentistry was to take things from outside dentistry and bring it in,
Mm.
because in dentistry we tend to eat what we kill, where it's the same things over and
Over and
over and
over.
over
Yes.
again. If it's
Yes.
not a Penwell book, nobody reads it. You know what I mean? In dentistry, it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
come on, we got to look
So
outside of
true.
dentistry. The first book you read in the year should not be the CDT book. You should really,
Oh my gosh. Yes.
as if there's something new that we can learn from that book, right? All
Right.
right, so let's take another fork, and here's another one. All right, give me one or two, or if you have three, of your favorite quotes that you live by.
I do have three. One's a
Yeah.
little spicy, and two are ones that I have loved for a very long time. One is from John F. Kennedy, actually, and he said, "One person can make a difference, and everyone should try." And I truly believe that.
Yeah.
It's why I am annoying and relentless in some ways, because I do believe that I can make a difference if at just being one person. Also, RBG, the great Ruth Bader Ginsburg, said women belong in all places where decisions are being made, and it shouldn't be the women that are the exception. I am a feminist. I am a raging feminist at times, depending on the conversation. So I love me some RBG. And then my favorite, though, the spicier one, which is a little bit more after my own heart, is from Madonna. And she said, "I'm tough, ambitious, and I know exactly what I want. And if that makes me a bitch, okay." And I love it.
I love it. Yeah, I'd even wear that on a t-shirt.
Right.
I
love a statement shirt.
That's it. That's good. Yeah, but it's got to be black in white lettering though. I'm good. I'll get that one. Any color as long as it's black. I love it. Okay, so here's the two easy ones, but they're really important. And I think these are the kind of the things that I think are really tell a lot about a person. Okay, what's the high-tech thing that you can't live without, and why?
Oh my God, this is going to be so basic, but it's my iPhone.
Yeah.
I literally cannot, it controls my life. It does. I need it for everything. I have to document everything. And I wish I could say something else. And I thought about this, but so basic. I need my iPhone.
And you're a nomad, so this is a really important thing for you, because
yes.
I realize it because I'm at that gray hair stage where I'm throwing away things. That I'm like, I don't need LPs anymore because I don't even have a record player. So come on, I can throw those out. And I'm realizing paring down. There was actually a study done by Nokia, and it was all about if your house burned, what would be the thing that you grab? And it was really
my phone.
Your phone. And what they basically said was, if we could take all of your personal memories, which are your photos and all that kind of stuff, put it there. If we could put your wallet inside your phone, and if we could put your car keys inside your phone, what would you grab? And the answer again was my phone. Now, nobody's using a Nokia phone anymore for the most part, but that was a fantastic study. It was like a TED talk that they did. And they showed that if you grabbed your phone and all your personal memories are there, and like for me, I can use my phone for my car, and my wallet, for the most part, is in there, except for your passport, that kind of stuff. But if we get to that point, really your phone is that one thing.
And it does all those things for me. And I truly remember iPhone 1 coming out and it having the camera, and I was making a pros and cons list of if I should buy a new digital camera or invest in this iPhone because it could do the pictures.
Hold on. I know this is crazy during a live interview.
I love
let me
it.
show you something. Hold on. I know I'm nuts. That is,
oh my gosh,
an iPhone 1.
It's it's a baby. Like, look at it in your palm versus like mine in my palm. Like it. Oh my God.
Yep. So that's an iPhone 1. I still have it. And I'm a hoarder when it comes to technology. I love tech, and if you can see, it was well worn, well used.
Oh my.
That's an iPhone.
I'm pretty sure I broke mine. Like it was smashed.
Mine's in a case.
Oh.
And
I love this so much.
That's probably that was the first. I bought it because, again, I'm a techie and I had to have it. And I think I used it until the next new thing came out, and then that was the last iPhone that I ever used. but I love it.
It's amazing.
All right. So now we talked high tech. So here's the other one. What is the low tech thing? So it doesn't have a plug, thing that you can't live without, and why?
This was a toss up between my toothbrush because, and
You're
I do
hydrous.
actually use one that does not have, it's not electric. I have a manual toothbrush that I would just, I don't know if life could go on without. Um, and also my French press for coffee.
I love it.
Yeah, I do
That-
love my French press coffee.
yeah, anything that doesn't come in a K pod is good for me.
Yes, I do
Oh,
not use pods.
oh,
No, I'm a hippie at heart. So anything that is, I don't use paper towels at my house. I don't use a lot, and I don't use Ziploc bags. I don't use any of that stuff. So anything that's reusable, I am all for.
okay. So now you opened up a can of worms. All right. So
Oh,
here's the
okay.
question: what manual brush do you use?
Well, I know if anybody has known me in my career, this is not going to be a surprise to you. I worked for Tepe Oral Health Care. That is my favorite toothbrush, the Tepe Supreme. When I discovered the feathered, tapered style bristles that actually get into the sulcus of your tissue and your gum line, done.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan. Going back to like conical shaped, flat, bristled brushes, I'm like, I'm not cleaning my teeth. Like they're not clean.
Yeah.
I mean, gums don't feel healthy. So Tepe Supreme all the way.
Awesome. And this is where people are like, Andre's such a nerd when it comes to this kind of stuff. I think perio is the most important thing that I can do in a practice to give you practice management results. I don't care about
Absolutely.
collections. I don't care about everything else. If I can get my patients healthy from perio, the rest of it I can do. That's my commercial for where I stand
Yeah.
in dentistry. So,
Agreed.
but I love that.
Agreed.
That's a great suggestion. Okay. So, next question, I'm going to take you back to the fork in the road. So let's look back at Michelle 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and let's whisper in Michelle's ears a piece of advice. So give Michelle a piece of advice today from.
I know this because this has actually been something I'm working on. And I would definitely have to whisper in her ear, be more curious and less reactionary, but trust your intuition always.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, I think a lot of what we do on a daily basis is, we listen to other voices instead of that voice. And I think that that's a fantastic tool to be able to move forward is give yourself the confidence that you're making the right decision, but even
Yeah.
if it's not right, you'll find your way.
There's enough people gaslighting us in the world. We don't need to gaslight ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's definitely what I was doing based on maybe some how I should be acting or how I should be doing this or I should be having these milestones. And I knew in my gut that some of those things were not for me. And I'm also a very emotional person, very passionate person, and I react very quickly to things when I really do need to be asking more questions and getting maybe to the root of the response or the question or the comment. And I think if I had a little bit more control, I love where I'm at. Like I have no regrets as far as where I'm at in my life, but I do think maybe life would have been a lot less stressful, and I would have been a less hard on myself if I had been more intuitive, followed my intuition, and been more curious versus reactionary.
Yeah. Well, and these are forks that we take.
Yeah.
All right. So I haven't told anybody about this next question, but I threw
Ooh,
another
okay.
question in there just so
All
you have a
right.
deer in the headlights moment, but it's an easy one.
Love
Okay.
it.
So, and I get this question from a podcast that I listen to, and I think it's a great question. But here's the question: Michelle is who she is because of hard work or luck?
Hard work.
Yeah.
Hard work. Yeah. Yeah. I wish I was lucky. I wish I was more lucky.
Yeah.
But I put the hours in. I do.
And you do. You work hard, and I see you out there. The good thing is in dentistry we get so much to read, so much comes through. I mean, every dental article that comes in, I just kind of like look at the headline and go, But then when I go, oh, that's who wrote it, then I can read a little bit more. So you're on my reading list of articles that comes out. So I always kind of look up and see, oh, there's something interesting. I should take a look.
Thanks.
And we get inundated with LinkedIn and Facebook and everything else.
So much content coming at us at all times.
Yeah. Well, I am so glad you took a few minutes to do this with me, because this, when I think back on like all the interviews that I have done over the years, and I go, there's some people who I want to turn the tables and interview them, because hey, everybody kind of knows my backstory, but I always want to turn the table and learn about other people, and it's been great to know you.
Same, and I love this new adventure of yours. I think it's a fun way to chat with the people that we know in the dental industry, but kind of go deeper. I think that's so fun.
Yeah. Everybody knows how all of our degrees and all that other stuff, and how many times we've been published.
Right.
Learning a little bit more is really, again, this could be the fork in the road for the next person who is in the operatory and looking for a new path, or, deciding where they want to live and saying, hey, I can live every place. This could be a great idea. I
Follow me. You can do it.
Yeah. So I will see you, and maybe we'll catch up sometime, depending on what state you're in or I'm in. So I'm glad you got a chance to do this with me.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Thanks. Bye-bye.